So today I've been asked to talk to you about personal development. And reflecting on personal development is such a very broad area. It's just like talking about life. So it's quite broad. So reflecting on it prayerfully, I just thought that it will be good to just share a few things about principles and practices of personal development. And it's also instructional for me to share a bit of my personal experience with you. And I think that aside from this, we have some shared attributes that some things that connects me together with you. So I think that first of all, we are people of color, in an environment that is quite far from home, where, I mean, we could call home at least. And we are also on a journey of career development, wherever you are in the journey, whether you are up there or you're just starting or you are changing or, whatever it is, we are all on a journey somehow. Another thing is that we all shoulder some form of responsibilities. Some might be a parental responsibility or a spousal responsibility as a husband, as a wife. Even if you are not married, you plan to marry, and even if if you don't plan to marry, you've got parents. So somehow you have some form of responsibility. So do I. And most importantly is the fact that we are heritage of God boundless love and grace. So I think that apart from so many differences that we've got these similarities. And these are some of the things that I think connects me specifically with you and give me that encouragement to let loose and share a bit of my personal development journey. So about my journey, I completed PhD around 2019 rather. So from 2015 to 2019. And during this period, I actually had to move in between banks because I started the PhD while I was in First Bank. That was in 2015. And then I moved into Union Bank, I think around 2016 or thereabout. And while doing this PhD, I made significant contributions, published about 10 papers, research papers, from my PhD research. And this is in addition to the fact that I was holding a full-time job at that time as a developer. And you need to understand what it means to be a developer. Not just a developer, I was actually leading a team responsible for a number of digital transformation projects and all that. And while at that too, by the grace of God, I got a lecturing job, from UK, right from Nigeria. So I had to do the application and all that. In the process, I moved to UK in December 2019. And just before the lockdown, as a matter of fact, the very last day of lockdown where they're going to shut down the flights from Nigeria to UK, my family moved, to join me. That was, I think, March 21st or thereabout, 2020. And so it's been 16 months in a new career, in a new land, in a new environment, with new culture and new people. So I also feel that some of you also share this kind of experience with me. You are in a new place, you are in a new journey. So how has the journey been? How has things evolved? What has happened? How has God been able to help us or help me, to move through this? What kind of personal development have I been able to, pull through? And what are the lessons that I've learned? These are a few things I think I would like to share with you. And to start off, I'm going to base everything I'm going to tell you today on a particular premise. And that premise is that life is not mathematics. Life is principlistic. Don't mind me, that English may not be in the dictionary, but I tend to communicate for, to transfer meaning, not necessarily to transfer, to adhere with grammar. And when I talk about life is not mathematics, it means that life is not about formulas. So some of you might have think that personal development I will come here to talk about today will be series of steps, series of processes. You do A, then you move to B, you do C, and all that. As you can see there, you see that formula, A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. The other one is quadratic equation, So these are formulas. They are contextual in nature. It means that, that first one is talking about triangle. I just remember some of these formulas. We did them when far away back then in school. The other one is quadratic equation. So you cannot necessarily use a quadratic equation formula to solve a binomial, equation. So what it's telling us again is that when we're talking about personal development, it's, this is the reason why people tend to, try to use other people's approach. And at the end of the day, they really don't have the result that other people, got. Life is principlistic. And this is what I mean. Everything in life is guided by principle. How are you going to explain, that dying equals living, that giving equals receiving, that waiting is equal to flight, and that followership is leadership? And this is the uniqueness that we have as kingdom citizens. Life itself is not about following a rigid pattern. Life is about understanding the principles that govern life and then making those principles to work with for you, including personal development. Now, formulas are sensible. So formulas make meaning. So when you see a formula, they make sense to you. Formulas are contextual, like I said, and they are superficial. But principles are they are senseless. For instance, it looks like, why do I have to give in order to receive? It does not really make meaning. Principles are universal in the sense that it does not matter where you are. It does not even matter whether you're a Christian. It does not matter whether you are a child or you're an adult. It does not matter where you are located. Principles are universal. Finally, principles are spiritual. Life itself is spiritual. I know a lot of you know that, but in case you don't know, life is spiritual, and so is personal development. I might really sound a bit awkward here, but these are the things these are just the plain truth. The way you are, man, is spiritual. I am spiritual. You are spiritual. So also is principle. So if life is spiritual, man is spiritual, and principles are spiritual, then the spiritual man principles. I know you'll be thinking, you're asked to come here to talk to us about self-development. And now you are talking to us about life. You are talking to us about principle. You are talking to us about formulas. How does this tie together? I'm giving you the foundation of self-development, because without life itself, there is nothing you want to self-develop. So you really need to understand how life works before you can now ride on the principles that govern life to develop yourself continually. If you really want to excel in personal development, you need to leverage principles and not formulas. You need to go away from the how to, 7 steps to do this, 3 steps to do this, step to do that. No, to understand principles that govern life itself. And I'm just going to be sharing a few principles, actually just two of them, that drive sustainable personal development from my personal experience. And these are really not things I've read in book. I mean, after getting to UK and reflecting, I found out that a lot of these principles, I've actually been doing them without even knowing. So all I thought was that I'm self-developing. But as a matter of fact, I have been operating 99% of time on some principles. There are times when I read certain books or I listen to certain people, and I just come to realize that I was actually operating on a principlistic level and not just about formulas. And when I talk about sustainable personal development, please mark that word sustainable. A lot of people go through self-development, personal development, and in the process, they burn out. A lot of people, they develop themselves, they become the best they could be, question, quote and unquote. And at the end of the day, they just found out that it is meaningless. How do you describe self-development that does not give you happiness? Self-development that does not give you fulfillment? Self-development that does not draw you closer to the purpose of God for your life? It is not sustainable. How do you describe self-development that is just based on money, that is based on popularity, that is based on whatever it is? They are not sustainable. So today, I've come here to share with you two principles, just two of them. Principles that can lead to sustainable personal development. And the interesting thing about this is that you can now derive whatever formula you want to derive from these two principles as we go along. So you can derive how to work with the principle, you can derive whatever you want to do from these two principles. So the very first principle, it's about developing your sense of purpose. Developing your sense of purpose. So what do I mean by developing your sense of purpose? And how does this relate with self-development? The truth is, purpose clarifies your vision, and your vision sets your priorities. Your priorities dictate how fast and how far you are going to go. I really don't want to sound like a perspire to aspire, motivational speaker here. And that is not exactly what I'm doing. And I'm going to explain this. All along, I've heard that I understand what my purpose is. And what I mean by purpose is understanding what God really wants me to do, what gives me fulfillment, what I'm called here to do. So the question is, why are you here? What are you here to do? What are the next line of action and all that? I have an idea of what they're supposed to be. And so therefore, what I mean by purpose clarify your visions is that when you know exactly what you're supposed to do, even if you are not doing it as at that time, you will have clarity of those things that should be important to you and those things that should not be important to you. And the story I want to tell you is about 2015, just a story about how I got the admission to do a PhD. And so I was in the bank, and I'd always had this mind I was going to do PhD. I knew definitely that one day I'm going to leave the bank and I'm going to be in the classroom. It looks like a very tall order. I mean, it looks like something that was not possible. But then I just had it somewhere in my mind that I'm just going to do these things. And the reason why I said that purpose clarify your vision is that when you are purposeful, there are certain things that you are the only one that will see them. Other people will not see them. So I was just walking, and then I went to the desk of this one of my colleagues then I think I was at Keystone Bank then. And then I just saw him, browsing this particular site. It was University of South Africa. So and I said, "Oh, University of South Africa." I said, "Wow, what's happening here?" No, I'm trying to look for a master's degree. And I said, do they offer PhD? He said, yes, they offer PhD. I said, oh, quickly, then can I look at it? And then I looked at it. I said, okay, please just send me the URL. You know, it was like a joke. Then I got to my desk after the day's job. Then I looked at it, I searched, I didn't know anyone. Then I applied. The first application did not go through. And I was told, I think I was supposed to do Doctor of Leadership or something. And then they said to me that I didn't have my first degree wasn't in area of management or leadership and all that. And then I got denied. And then I applied again. And then I got it. You know, I even spoke to people that I never knew before, sending them emails. I don't even have an idea of what I wanted to do, you know, in terms of clarity, but I had an idea rather. And then I just kept pushing. What I'm trying to say is that 3 years or 4 years down the line, after I graduated, this same person, this same young man or colleague of mine that gave me that link, you know, that I saw that link to UNISA on his desktop, said to me, what happened? How did you do this? And I said, well, did you remember that day that you sent this link to me? He said he remembered. I said, well, you sent that link to me, and then I just worked on that link. I just browsed that site, and I just took it further. Now, what I'm saying is that because I had some form of purpose, some form of direction, I was able to identify those things that are important to me. To somebody, it's just browsing, it's just surfing. But to me, I could align that with where I am going. So therefore, what I mean is that there are a lot of opportunities out there. There are a lot of opportunities beside you. You're passing by them every day, but you are unable to harness them because you don't have that purpose, you know. Now, because purpose, clarify vision, it helps me to be able to set my priorities. And those priorities are just those things that are important to me, or those things that are important to you if I'm going to personalize it to somebody. And that dictates how far you're going to go. So tell me somebody with personal development stories that are not driven by purpose. Then I'm going to show you testimonies of somebody that is not fulfilled. So what I'm trying to say is that your personal development, whatever it is that you want to do, you want to read, you want to, whatever it is, must be aligned with your sense of purpose. So the primary question will be, perhaps, what is my purpose? Even when you know it, how do I redevelop it? How do I understand it? How do I get it to be more clearer? So this is important. I think this is foundational for us before we even go into what is personal development, also those things that you do, you know, to develop yourself. Because sustainable personal development is hinged on the fact that you really know why you are here and what you are here to do. More importantly, because we are kingdom people. We are not just anybody. We have a purpose here. God is depending on us, especially for some of us that are not in Nigeria, that are outside Nigeria. You see that there's a lot we can do here, and there's a lot of, you know, avenue that we can use to affect and impact people. So therefore, the first principle is that you develop your sense of purpose. Develop your sense of purpose. The second one is to develop your sense of pilot. Your sense of pilot. Now, what do I mean by the sense of pilot? Whether you're a Christian or you are not, there is something inside you that is always guiding you, that is telling you what to do. Some people call it conscience, some people call it self-talk, some people call it different names. But if you look at it deep down within you, you'll find out that there is something inside of you that tells you There's something within you that gives you direction. You need to develop that sense of pilot. These are foundational principles. Now, check out those who made impact and finished strong. A lot of them, all of them, follow these principles. And you know what? It is not whether you're a Christian or you are not a Christian. These things are always with you. There's a measure of God in everyone. There is a measure of God in everyone. So therefore, you are intuitive, you are powerful, and you are graceful. The book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 11, it says, "For the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared unto all men." So it does not matter whether you're short, whether you are tall, whether you're knowledgeable, whether you're not knowledgeable, whether you are white, whether you are black, whatever it is, whatever is the status of your mind, whatever it is, wherever you are on that journey, there is a measure of grace of God upon you. And if you look at that same verse 11, the other part of it, it said it instructs you. So that grace is always instructional. That grace is always speaking. To somebody now, you are just listening to me and you're saying, wow, this seems to be true. But I get confused because there are other voices that I'm hearing. Yes, it's because you have not developed your sense of pilot. By the time you develop your sense of pilot, you will know clearly. Just imagine when your dad calls you, or when your son, if you have a son or you have a daughter or if you have a child, when your child calls you and you are even sleeping, you understand with clarity the voice of whoever is calling you without even seeing them. So therefore, to excel sustainably, to develop sustainably, you need to develop your sense of pilot. So the first principle, develop your sense of purpose. The second one is to develop your sense of pilot. So based on these things, I just feel that I could now go into some key practices. What are the things that I've done? And again, I'm careful to say these are formulas or these are steps. These are just practices, things that I look back for the benefit of hindsight that I found that it has been helpful and it has helped me to be where I am today. I mean, by the grace of God. And I'm by no means raising myself high or something. I'm just saying that I know where I used to be. I know where I am. And I know again where the Lord is taking me to. So what are the key practices that I have been able to leverage within the past few years? So I thought that these practices would be very useful, especially as I transited between career, moving from banking into teaching in an environment that is totally new, and talking to people. I was used to talking to machine. I don't talk to people, you mean, in that sense. When I was in the bank, I program. So Visual Studio or my machine is used to be my best friend. I'm not customer. I was a customer face, but then transiting into an environment where I have to meet with students, where I have to talk to students, where I have to, and these students are not students that share my core belief, quote and unquote. So these are a highly multicultural environment. You understand, where you have Asians, you have, some of you here, you will understand better. So what are the things that have key practices that have helped me? Again, I need to be careful and sound this note of warning. These are practices I derive from those principles. So for some of you, if we share the same context, these practices might work for you. For some of you, if we don't, it might not work for you. So it's important that, again, you derive your own best practices from those two principles that I gave to you. And I can bet anything on those two principles: developing your sense of purpose, developing your sense of pilot. I can bet it. Check it out. whether Christians or no Christians, people that have made impact in this life, and they have developed themselves sustainably. Mark that word sustainably. Those are the two things. They literally base their life on these two key principles. But then let's move on to the practices. And I will be fast about this now. The first thing you need to do is to create a personal career roadmap. Personal career roadmap. And so some of you, you could interpret this as writing down your goals. You know, you need to have, and you see, a number of people write goals coming from the knowledge of their limitation. Okay, so I know that I've got 10,000 pounds in the bank. All right, so when I'm writing my goal should be limited to this 10,000 pounds that I have. So I cannot write a goal that will require me to spend 1 million pounds, you know, because I'm coming from that place of knowledge of who I am, instead of coming from the place of knowledge of their purpose. You understand? So if you are coming from the place of knowledge of your purpose, then you need to create your personal career roadmap. And this roadmap needs to be as clear as possible. You know, you need to put it in: this year I'm going to do this, this time I'm going to do this. I mean, it's just like you are dreaming, you are making use of your imagination, and it is free. Anybody can travel to anywhere in their imagination. In your imagination, you can be anything. You can be a doctor, you can be a pilot, you can be whatever. You are not limited, you know. So travel in the place of your imagination and create a personal, for once, make yourself happy by just imagining those things that are possible, and then you put them down. And then you see that there is some form of power that is just going to ignite in your spirit. And you go a little step after that to say those things. You see, when you interact with these things for so long, it becomes you. When you interact with your personal career map, when you interact with your personal goal, it just becomes part of you, such that when you meet with people, you can interact with them with 1 hour or 2 hours without telling them some of those things that you want to do, or some of those things that God has placed in your mind or in your heart to do. So the second thing is that you need to enhance your personal brand, specifically for people that God has given that opportunity to start all over again. And when I mean by opportunity to start all over again, it is that opportunity to relocate. You know, so I moved from Nigeria and I'm coming into UK. As a matter of fact, fewer people know me here in UK, you know, than I was in Nigeria. So it gives me that opportunity to start over again and start with a personal brand. So this is how I want people to perceive me. This is who I want to be. When they mention Adebowale, I want them to mention it synonymous with excellence. When they mention me, I want them to, you know, this is what I want to come up in the heart or in the mind of people. So you need to be able to enhance your personal brand. And enhancing your personal brand include that you create some form of visibility. So practically, what I mean is this: you could go into your what's it called now? You could use LinkedIn pages, create very, you know, inviting profile for yourself. And outside that, you need to work towards it. So what are you synonymous with? Are you synonymous with excellence? How do you want people to perceive you? You need to be able to create those personal brands. The next thing is that you need to connect with people and not things. You see, the environment where we are, people don't connect. I'm sure a lot of you must have seen it. You know, you live with neighbors and you will not get to see the neighbor in months. And even when you see them, it's about hi, hello, hi. You know, that is not how we are made. That is not principalistic. You know, you need to be able to connect with people. And so you have to be deliberate how you connect with people in your environment, in your neighborhood, even at work. So you need to be deliberate about it, you know. And again, in doing this, you need to draw from those two principles. The next thing is that you need to keep the rules. You need to keep the rules. Yes, this might really sound arbitrary. I mean, for a lot of people, there are a lot of atrocities. People cut corners to do a lot of things. No, but because we are not like them, quote and unquote, we are special breed. What God will do is going to do, without cutting corners. You remember some of those principles. Waiting at times could be equal to flight. And you know how God demonstrated this thing to me. While I was thinking about this principle. If you have been in a flight before, I know a number of you must have. If you are flying up there, how does it look like? Does it look like you are moving? It does not. You just found out that you are in the sky, and then you are just, it does not look like it's moving. But at the end of the day, the highest kind of movement or flight sometimes is obtained when it looks like you are not making progress, when it looks like you are just there. And that is again built on principle. You need to keep the rules. You need to pay your tax. You need to know about driving. You need to do whatever it is required for you to do. Just be a good citizen. Keep to the rules. Attend meetings when you're supposed to attend meetings. Tell people who needs to know about whatever you're doing. Just do it right. The next is to be aware of the culture in our environment, especially in workplace, in school, when you are searching for a job, you need to understand. So just put it at the back of your mind that it is possible that you are going to be rejected. You need to understand the culture. And let me say this again, maybe this is going to encourage somebody. I lost count of how many times I applied for the teaching job. Okay, so I remember there was a time I even left Nigeria. I went to San Francisco, in US. There was a conference then, and there was supposed to be a job fair. So I went to San Francisco just because I was looking for a lecturing job, and I felt that when I get there, I would meet with people and all that. And I was disappointed. I got there, I met with people, but then again, you can feel that systemic discrimination, when I was having those kind of interview. And then I was discouraged and I came back home, and then I kept on applying. If I'm not going to miss what I knew that I put forward more than 100 applications. So you need to also prepare your mind for the culture in that environment. So when it comes to workplace, school, a job search and all that, just prepare. It is not that you believe that you will be rejected, but just prepare your mind that even if you are rejected, that is not going to stop you. It is part of the plan. It is part of the process. So be aware of the culture. A lot of people are not aware of the culture, and then they just come in here and they just feel that, when we are here now, everything is going to work out. I mean, this is heaven on earth and things will work out. No, be aware of the culture. Be aware of the limitation. And then be aware of family, spousal, and children or child challenges. When you move into an environment like this, you might have some challenges with your wife. You might have some challenges with your husband. It is part of the deal. You might have some challenges with your kids. They might be more confrontational because that is the environment. Your spouse may now begin to think about finances and all that differently. Things might begin to change. And then you think like, oh, what is happening here? Those things are part of the challenges. They are part of the culture. They are part of the environment. And you know what? If your mind is not clear, if you don't have clarity of purpose and clarity of mind, You cannot self-develop. You cannot it's just like somebody driving, and then somebody is sitting by the driver's seat and then is holding the steering with you. A lot of us have some other things that are holding the steering with us. As we strive to make progress, as we strive to self-develop, we need to sort out those things. We need to put them aside and say, you know what, I need to sort you out because I want to make progress. Again, we need to be aware of the culture that drives our environment, even here. Because of our time, I'm going to move quickly. Another thing is that you learn to magnify your strength. There is nobody that does not have a place of strength. So you need to learn to magnify your strength. And now, how did I apply this? I know that I wasn't very good when it comes to teaching, developing, and all that, developing course notes and what have you. It's a totally new environment, so I had to learn. But there is something I know that I'm very good at. I know that I'm good in terms of creating strategy, in terms of developing, how do I put it now? In terms of simplifying ideas. So I can simplify a 5,000 words of idea using just one diagram, all right? And I know that I also have industry experience that a lot of people around here, don't have. So what I did was to capitalize on that strength that I have. So when they ask me to write something or when I need to write something, I don't just go for those writing. I just decide to contextualize whatever I have to do and then put it in form of diagram. And then when I throw it at their face, well, wow, we've not seen this before. Oh, this is lovely. This is great. I decided to play, to the place of my strength and magnify my strength so that when people see you in the area of you cannot play in the area of your strength and lose. People will see you and they want to explore it. They want to learn from you. Another one is that we should learn not to react. This environment is not a place of reaction. It is a place to proact consistently. And what do I mean by react? People will test you and want you to react. And what comes to my mind is the story of Moses. He reacted. He was looking at the promised land. They were almost there. And then he reacted. And God told him, yes, you've been consistent proactively, but now you have reacted. And so just look at this land. You've tried. Look at it. Have you seen it? Yes, you've seen it. Okay, you have seen it, but you are not going to get there. So what am I trying to say is that reaction, sometimes emotional, getting out of control emotionally can put us into a lot of trouble, especially when we are out of home. When I say out of home, now I'm talking about people in diaspora. So we need to learn not to react and to proact. Try to reach people. Again, this takes us back to those two principles I talked about. Sense of purpose and sense of pilot. With your sense of pilot, you will hopefully most of the time even know what people want to do before they do it. So when they do some of those things, it's not going to take you aback. It's not going to surprise you because you are proacting consistently. And it is not about you. It's because you are leveraging that principle, your sense of pilot. And you know what? At times, your sense of pilot will ask you to do something that does not make sense, and you have to do them. The next one is that you need to be financially smart in this environment. You need to be financially smart. And when we're talking about financial smartness, even if all you have is not sufficient. So the idea is you pay a lot of tax, you pay a lot of bill, and then the question is, how do I have money to save and to invest? And then some of you will have access to credit card, and then the next available stuff is, oh no, let me let me divert and make use of this credit. You need to be financially smart. You need to, even out of that small money you have, you need to be able to save. You need to be able to invest. And you need to be able to manage your credit. There are places, there are things that you can invest into, and I don't want to go there. Again, it's about that sense of pilot, that principle number 2. You need to be able to manage your credit. Everything around here is credit dependent. And so if you screw your credit, then you are almost screwing your life. I'm new here. I'm just about 16 months here. But these are some of the things that I've been able to find out, especially interacting with people, doing personal research, and depending on that second principle, the sense of pilot, that intuition, that God factor that is inherent in everyone. Another one is the fact that you need to mind your health. It is important. This body is like a vehicle. So whether personal development or not, if this body is not well, there is nothing you can develop. So you need to mind what you eat. You need to mind your exercise. You need to mind what you drink. You need to, and thank God, I mean, the environment is much more better in terms of helping with health, so you need to mind your health. And second to the last, you need to be thankful. You need to be praiseful. And when I talk about being thankful, a lot of us forget in a hurry. And I'm saying this because it also happens to me. A lot of us forget in a hurry where God has brought us from. So you are here and you're unable to pay a bill, or you are here and then there's a temporary problem, and then you are over the roof, complaining. Oh, what is happening now? Oh, why did I even come here? Oh God, we need to be thankful. And not just being thankful, you need to be praiseful. One more thing I understand here is, thankfulness is a way of life. And I found that it has endangered a lot of people to me. If we go to that very point 3 rather, that talks about connecting with people and not things. When you are thankful, you connect with people. Just go try it. When you are thankful, you connect with things that doesn't really need you to say thank you or something. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your input. People will want to do more with you. You need to be thankful, not only to God, even to people around you. Being praiseful, again, is about just declaring a session of praise. Whatever it is, just praise God, just thank Him. And finally, reflect, and reflect. You need to be reflectful, or reflective rather. You need to be very reflective in terms of reflecting, thinking about things. So at the end of the day, you just think about quickly, what happened today? Switch to that sense of pilot. How could I have done these things better? Is there anything I need to learn? And then you just move on. But you need to be very, reflective. And being reflective does not necessarily mean you need to now stay glued to those things that have happened. It's just that you look at them, you learn from them. It's more like an autopilot, more like a feedback loop kind of stuff. So you are moving forward and then you are taking that feedback. And as you're taking that feedback, you are getting better as you move forward. And this feedback is not even the best person that can give you the best feedback is still that second principle, that sense of pilot. Other people will validate it, but your sense of pilot will give you the best feedback and the best information when you continually develop them. So therefore, on this note, I want to say that my goal today is not necessarily to motivate somebody, but I'm here to encourage you to develop your sense of purpose and your sense of pilot as you evolve in the personal development journey, as you move along. And somebody might think, what is this tautology? motivation and encouragement, are they not supposed to be the same thing? In the context of scripture, motivation and encouragement are not the same. If we look at the book of Psalm 119, verse 52, the Passion Translation, it says, your revelation light is eternal. I am encouraged every time I think about your truth. If you check the scripture, everywhere they made use of the word encouragement, it is to take a positive action and to take a positive step. But in some places, they use the word motivation, could be either way. You know, if you look at the book of Acts chapter 17, verse 5, for instance, it says, but many of the Jews were motivated by bitter jealousy and formed a large mob out of the troublemakers. You know, when they incite trouble there, and they were attacking the apostle. So therefore, motivation can be negative. So it could swing the other way. But today, I have come to encourage you. I have come to encourage you. And I've come to tell you that you are amazing. Whatever it is, whatever you think about your life, whatever it is, you are amazing. Your future is awesome. You are gracious. You are loved. You are great. You have a seed of purpose inside you. You are greater. You are better than you have ever thought of yourself. God is there, right there with you. Whatever it is that you're passing through, whatever it is, whether you think you've screwed your life, whether you think, oh, why am I even here? Maybe I should have stayed in Nigeria. No, I'm confused right now. I don't even know what to do. Whatever it is, God's got your back. You know, and this is the best time to leave. But wherever you are, whether you feel that you are delayed, I want to tell you that you are loved. God will not love you tomorrow more than he has loved you today or before today. And he's giving you everything that you require to be the best that you can be. Okay? And so, on this note, I want to say thank you so much for listening to me. And I hope that you will create time to develop your sense of purpose, to develop your sense of pilot. I appreciate this. Thank you.
I can see people saying, thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, doctor. Ayomide said this makes a lot of sense. Many thanks. Thanks to everybody. Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Thank you. Any question? Any question?
Yeah, I just have one question.
Okay, good. You can
my name is Kola. Good evening. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to ask, in terms of personal development, and you said we should audit ourselves. So when you audit, and have you ever find yourself in a situation whereby you want to develop certain skill set and probably is going to 3, 4, 5, and you're like, do I have time to develop all this? Have you ever been in that kind of situation? How do you manage it? And do you just go one after the other, or you can combine one or two things together? Despite the fact that you said you were in a full-time job in Nigeria and you were applying for, and you were also doing your PhD. So how did you combine that? How do you prioritize?
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. Okay, so you see, when you think about the cost of not doing things that you are supposed to do, and you paint that picture very clearly, you will not be able to sleep. You will not be able to sleep. It will look like something is chasing you. You will not know where you're going to have that energy from, you know, to do those things that you're supposed to do. You see, the reason why we take these things, we just put them aside, is because we feel we have alternative, and we just feel that things are, you know, things at some point we just straighten out. Okay, so the idea is, one, you need to be able to ask yourself the question: if I don't do this thing now, in the near future, what is the implication, or what are the implications of not doing what I'm supposed to do now? That is one. before that, when you talk about clarifying what you need to do, when you think on paper, okay, and that is what I said in the first thing I said about documenting your roadmap. So when you document your roadmap, you know those things that you need to do and those things that you are not supposed to do. Those things that are, so for every action you want to take, there are more like the same or even more distracting action showing themselves up. So this is what I mean. I want to go to school is an action. So if you wait, I want to go to school, or I want to have PhD, and you say, I want to have the PhD is weighing 50 pounds or something, 50 kg, you put them on the scale, all right? There are other distracting action that will show up. For instance, I want to marry, or I want to have a child, or I want to buy a car or something. And when you put those ones together, they can even be weighing 100 kg. And they can allow you to get distracted. You know why? Because the devil knows where you are going. He knows the importance of doing the right thing. And so you're the one that will paint that picture of not doing the right thing at the right time. And when you have this picture, I tell you, you will not be able to sleep. That energy will come to do those things that you are required to do.
If you have to, probably you have 2 or 3 skills you need to develop as you have the 1 hour block. So how do you prioritize?
So the idea is, out of these 3 skills, when you come up with your roadmap, okay, with your roadmap will tell you which one you should pursue, which one you should chase. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't have 3 of them. 3 of them cannot have the same priority. It's not possible.
Okay.
So when you think on paper, you will know which one is you need to put up, and then you'll follow that.
Yeah,
I hope
thank
that's
you.
answered.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
Any other person? Any other person? We are ready to take your questions.
I think Dr. Owoseni's presentation was so good and so detailed and very deep that I think that most of us are just going to go away and really think deeply about what he said, which is why we don't have any questions for him. So it's not a function of the presentation itself. It's a function of how excellent your presentation was. It really was very deep.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you so much for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Then I think I want to add to what she just said now, because I think he talked a lot about what I'm personally going through now, and then it's a good presentation for me, which okay, thank God we have the recording. I would love to listen to it again, because it's something deep, and then it resonates to some of the plans I have for myself. So I want to say a very big thank you for you and for the opportunity for us to have this session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
I can make the slides available, really. So I can send our slides to Adewale and share it with everyone. That's fine.
That would be useful. And I think the other important thing that you said, in line with some of the things that we've been doing in our PD classrooms, which is essentially personality, our personality tests, SWOT analysis, and the rest of it. I think what brings everything together is your statement about having a sense of vision and a sense of clarity of vision and clarity of purpose. And saying that even in terms of prioritizing, when you were answering, I think, Kola's question, you were saying that even in terms of prioritizing, you have to tie everything back to what is your sense, your overall sense of purpose, as in to have an understanding of what exactly are you meant to be doing? What is your reason for being? Yeah. And if you can link that and lock that in, it will help in trying to redirect everything else that you need to do. So for me, that was very, very useful, extremely useful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mo. Thank
you. Moji, it seems you want to say something. Do you have any addition from anybody? Anybody want to add anything?
Oh, sorry, I think I raised up my hands in the error. Apologies.
Okay. All right, no problem. All right, thank you so much. We say thank you to our doctor. Thank you for the detailed and wonderful presentation. I hope everybody has been able to get one or two things, and then we'll be able to work on it. Don't let us forget, working on what we've heard, what we've learned. That's how it's going to work for us. Hearing is the first step, and then sitting down and trying to draw our plan on how we are going to work on it, how it's going to affect us, it's going to the impact is going to show in our lives. That's the most important thing. And I will enjoin all of us, if we can still do that this evening, if we can still draw out a plan on, okay, based on what I've heard in this presentation, how do I want to now prioritize things? How do I want to draw out a plan such that I'll be able to work on my sense of purpose, my sense of pilot, and also the key practices that he has given us. We say thank you to everybody that joined. I wanted to call our names before, but some people actually took permission to leave because of other engagements. So we just want to say thank you to everybody that joined. Thank you to our doctor. Thank you to Dr. Owoseni for the detailed presentation once again. We say thank you to everybody. If you want to say thank you to the Dr. Owoseni, you can unmute your mic. Just
thank
say
you, everyone.
thank you to him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you,
So
Doctor.
enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.